This actual play is intended for mature audiences and contains themes some viewers may find upsetting. Please check each episode's show notes for specific content warnings and enjoy the show with care. You all have been delivered to the front door of Braweight Hall, and there are many people here this weekend. There are dignitaries, ministers, merchants, members of the royal family, members of the peerage. There are so many people. There are servants bustling back and forth, footmen and chambermaids and valets, and your driver and a footman will help unload your bags. You all have a question here, which is how and where, or where and how, I suppose, will Mrs. Braweight bring Camelot into the world and therefore establish dominion over it? You need to figure that out. You know, generally speaking, Braweight Hall is a place of power, but you don't know where exactly in Braweight Hall it's meant to happen or how she intends to do it. It's a complexity 6 question, and the opportunity allows you to essentially confront her and stop it. And so I think I would like to go around the table and just ask everyone what they're doing. You have a couple of hours to kill before you are expected in the Sapphire Ballroom for a kind of large gathering, the first sort of formal gathering of the weekend. So you have some free time until then, essentially. I'm going to go around the table and I'll start with Dr. Mortimer.
I think the doctor is quite preoccupied with Etienne and is guiding him through and showing him the menagerie of delights that are before him. Just, oh yes, the dignitaries from, the great South. Yes, they are very important people. Mustn't tell them. Oh, the chambermaids. Yes, can you see them? We don't have many of those at Hargrave, obviously, not anymore. However, you can see that they will help those higher up. Yes. Oh, and over there, that's a peacock, Etienne, a peacock. Oh, they're marvelous. And this, despite Etienne's disposition, she is mothering him intently and is almost blind to everything else, and wanders quite confidently in, showing her creation the best that life has to offer.
I would like to suggest that at a certain point, some other guest, some well-to-do person sort of says, oh, what a handsome little chap he is. And then Etienne dribbles or drools on their hand, right? Something like that. What about you, Ms. Jean-Baptiste?
I think Phoebe is... She's not terribly mission-oriented, but I think she's trying to see, as there are so many living people here, what the kind of spiritual essence is of Braweight Hall, because we established, I think, that it's on one of the ley lines of the ley line map. So she's trying to I think she's walking around the grounds, maybe outside a bit, not entering the house, just to see what is around.
Oh, I like that very much. Go ahead and make the information move with sensitivity.
Okay. 10.
I'll give you a clue in a moment. I will tell you a few things that you see, though, as you're making your lap around the grounds, which are a lot. They're very big, right? She is, after all, the second richest person in the Empire. There's a hedge maze. There are gardens in all cardinal directions. There is quite a large expanse of forest. And something you will have noticed on the way in is there is a lake. You saw, it must be pretty good size because you didn't see the whole thing, but you did see part of it that kind of came up close to the road on the way in. So there is a lake somewhere on the grounds as well. But I'll come back with your clue. Ms. Quinn, what are you up to?
I think Cecelie will find herself in a place where there are many other dignitaries and important folks around, and just kind of stand and wait for somebody to take notice of her and engage her in conversation, and hope they might have something interesting to say.
Indeed. Let's get roll on the table first, and then we'll see how the scene plays out. Okay. Make the information move with presence.
Okay.
Doing all of our big guns to start.
Presence is good for me, so let's see. Oh, that was a bloody awful roll, though. I only rolled a 5.
Oh. We will come back to that in a moment. I will tell you, though. Let's paint the scene here. I'm adapting one of the later paint the scene questions for this moment. As you are kind of looking around, Miss Quinn, you'll start to pick up on many of the people here. Many of the people here are in on it. They're not here to be surprised. They're here to welcome whatever is going to happen. I'd like to paint the scene, though, everybody. Just in what subtle way do you pick up on that? How can you tell that everybody else is in on the joke but you?
I think that Cecelie is used to people looking at her, but it's often in a very blatant and mesmerized kind of way, which she enjoys. But here, people are looking furtively, and their eyes dart away as one whenever she catches them.
I think there's a very subtle social cue amongst groups of individuals who are chatting together. But what makes it interesting or notable is that all the people that are sharing this little social cue are wearing a very similar pin on their dress that matches, as if it's some kind of Masonic symbol or something that means they are in cahoots and perhaps slightly 2 or 3 steps ahead of everyone else in the room.
I think as the servants are milling around, you can see that as some patrons approach them, the servants wordlessly direct them into different places. But sometimes the servants come up to them and direct them, and no servant has come to any of us to do any such thing.
The portraits on the wall are vast. And these gallery type settings that are set on each of the walls, 1,000 different faces seem to stare at us. And as we sort of take them in, we realize that we're recognizing these faces. These are the people in the room. Our faces are not on those walls.
I'll get to you in a moment, Haskell, but since we've kind of moved into the house, some of us at this point, I would like to talk about the sort of grand entryway of Braweight Hall, where everyone is sort of gathering and milling about. As you've all noted, being given instructions to do, where to go, where their rooms are, that kind of thing, right? And maybe looking at these portraits with a lot of very familiar looking faces in them. I'd like to paint the scene again, if you'll indulge me. In the entry hall, Mrs. Brathwaite honors her past as the pirate queen of Barbuda, honoring her roots, her origin, how she got here. How so?
Among the portraits hanging, framed in a gold gilded frame, is a Jolly Roger, tattered, torn, and bloody, but framed, and it takes pride of place on the wall. It's right in the middle. You cannot miss it. It's not there to hide, it's there to boast.
Similarly, a couple of the bigger portraits have got the kind of curtains that run down either side, and the curtains are made of a kind of a patchwork of the mast, the kind of the mast of every ship that she ever sunk.
Those who know Ms. Brathwaite's roots in the Caribbean might expect, upon arrival at her estate, to see imported plants, strange delicacies and fruits, objects and items recovered from this strange and exotic part of the world, and yet they will be disappointed. There is nothing looted from the Caribbean here. Those weren't her targets, and she had no interest in contributing to British soil owning yet more ephemera from that part of the world.
The only thing that she has taken from her part of the world is sand. The sand that occupies every beach, various colorations, some bright white, some yellow, some black. And there is, it's almost a portrait of a vast ocean, and you can see lush rolling hills and islands in the distance, but it's painted as if you're looking out from a shore, and there is that beautiful sand, part of that portrait.
Your clue, Ms. Jean-Baptiste. You perhaps didn't pick up on it right away because the sun is still hanging in the sky, not high, it's descending, but it's still fairly high in the sky. But you start to notice that occasionally the sun is in the wrong place. You go around a corner and the sun should be warming your left cheek, but is in fact warming your right cheek. It should be behind you when it's in front of you. And as you make your way closer to the house, the sun orients in the way it's supposed to be. But for whatever reason, as you move around the grounds, it gets distorted. Either this place is distorting how you perceive it. Surely the literal sun is not moving around, but there's something going on there. Or maybe you're slipping in and out of places, right? That's possible too. I'll let you determine what it means. So Haskell, what do you do?
Haskell kind of watches everyone else as they kind of totter off and pays particular attention to the Doctor and Etienne. Kind of looks begrudgingly at them from a distance, and then thinks about his angle of approach, I think. And I think he feels quite isolated for once, I think. And he peels off and joins the line of downstairs below stairs folk moving towards the tradesman's entrance and taking supplies in, and he takes off his dress coat and his hat and just kind of puts it to one side, rolls up his sleeves, picks up some sacks of flour or whatever, and joins the line and falls in amongst the rank and file and sees what he can find back of house.
Yeah, make the information move with reason.
That's a 5.
I will tell you that the people downstairs, they don't seem as in on it like their employers are. They all genuinely seem like they're just busy. They're just trying to like do their job. They've got evening wear to get ready. They have, they have like various shoes to shine and they're cooks and scullery people going back and forth. Like everyone's really kind of focused on the job down here. And there's a lot of chatter about like, what is this all about? No one's even seen Mrs. Brathwaite, right? And I will tell you that as you're kind of like, in line, kind of like, kind of making your way down there, kind of maybe listening to conversations, dodging the occasional person coming by with a stack of trays or something, right? Or luggage. You will see down there some of those people who jumped you that one time. It was real brief, the scene. They just tried to rough you up and then you chased them off. But they're down here and they're not doing anything. They're just arms crossed, watching you. They've done their best to clean up for the occasion, but they clearly don't belong. Their coats are unmended and filthy. They all wear very inappropriate looking heavy boots. And you're taking a condition marked by the black laces. Ms. Quinn, you're getting all the normal sorts of flattery that you expect in a situation like this, though you're probably picking up on what we talked about earlier about how these people are here. They may not know exactly what they're here for, but they know something, right? They know more than they're letting on. And at one point, this very, very ancient butler, and I mean very old. He looks like he's in his like late 80s. He is twisted, his back is kind of like hunched, and twisted from age, just a couple little wisps of white hair. And you can see him across the way, just slowly, carefully click-clacking across the hall toward you. He has a silver tray in his hand with something to drink on it. And he's making very direct eye contact with you as he slowly totters toward you. And eventually he arrives. And he holds this tray forth, and there's a little crystal glass, and he says, "Cordial, madam?"
I'll reach out and take it, but not sip it, just hold. Thank you.
Yes. That is a gift from the lady of the house.
Indeed.
I should like to report back to her what you thought of it.
Cecelie reaches out and pours the contents of the glass onto the tray and then places the glass upside down on top.
For just a moment, his composure breaks and he kind of sneers at you. But he gathers himself and take the condition marked by Elmer the butler And he turns and says, with his back turned to you, I shall let her know what you thought. And he goes off.
Jason, may I, if I use a mask here, will that bump it up enough that I get some sort of clue?
You'll get a clue, yeah. Yeah, if you bump it up, you get a clue as well.
Can I do that, please? Because
Sure.
it's
Are you marking
important.
Mask of the Past or Future?
Mask of the Past, please.
Be thinking about what the Mask of the Past narration is, but for now,
Okay.
I will give you the clue.
Okay.
As he turns away, perhaps because he's flustered at your behavior, at your insult, but he doesn't notice when a silver key falls out of his pocket. It's very ornate and has a ribbon tied to it. It looks very special. You can take the key. It doesn't go to PQ or anything. It's just your clue, the existence of the key, and perhaps wherever the key goes to. Dr. Mortimer, why is Etienne... I suspect whenever you have a new child, life becomes more complicated. You don't get to do the things you always used to get to do. You don't get to be normal with people. What are the complications Etienne brings to a social situation like this?
I think in a normal social situation, Dr. Mortimer wasn't exactly fluent in social graces. This is just making it even more difficult. And particularly with anybody here, maybe anyone from the medical society, higher-ups who would maybe recognize that this child is abnormal. And so Mortimer is shuffling, almost trying not to be too noticed into the background, moving swiftly between people, trying to guide Etienne through the crowds. And as she's seen sort of Haskell move off towards the tradesman's entrance and Phoebe and Cecelie merge quite seamlessly into the crowd, she's going to be looking for doors, places, things that don't quite look like they belong. Maybe somewhere that she can take Etienne and explore and begin, discovering together a hidden library or something that could give them a little bit more of an idea of what's happening. Something away from prying eyes. She wants nothing more than people to not look at her.
I see.
Son.
So somewhere kind of off the beaten path. That
Yeah.
Let's go with the conservatory then.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
There are lush tropical plants here thriving despite the climate in England. The air is quite humid, perfumed with notes of rare spices and the exotic blooms you find here. The glass walls are intentionally kind of fogged, which obscure the views of the estate beyond. Let's paint the scene, everyone. What about the conservatory's flora or decor hints at Mrs. Brathwaite's connections to far-flung places or secret practices? Your choice.
I think perhaps in some of these great panes of glass, there are stained murals depicting scenes that seem enchanted, beautiful. The closer we look, the more we see these scenes are Arthurian in nature. There is the Lady of the Lake. There are the knights sat at the round table. In any other context, this would seem beautiful and whimsical and like fairy tale-esque. But knowing what we know, it is a light and daunting threat.
As you move through the plants in this conservatory, you can hear the gentle washes of grasses, the shaking of seed pods, the sigh of flower petals falling, And it seems soothing and elegant and beautiful until you realize you are, of course, indoors, and there is no breeze to cause all of these plants to be moving around you as you step through them.
I think as you move through, you can hear among the flowers the chirping of small insects, critters that would aid in the growth, natural small creatures, until you begin to listen a bit closer and you realize the timing of them is not discordant and natural. They sing together, they chirp together consistently. When you listen close enough, it can be very unnerving.
Equally unnerving. There is several kind of pitcher plants where the kind of bulbous sacs kind of hang, these kind of pitfall traps. And as the light comes through their kind of leaf-like membrane, you can see the outlines of an unfortunate bird that perhaps has got stuck in there, and a frog, perhaps. But then as you kind of look along the line, you can see that there's perhaps the odd human finger, and then you get to the end of the line of these picture bulbs, and some of them have just got jewelry in, as if whatever flesh was once in there has been melted away, and this is a repository for the trinkets that are left to remain.
Etienne is actually looking inside one of the pitcher plants, watching a bird drown. And as he does so, his eyes widen in excitement.
Yes, darling. Yes, a hummingbird. It is a hummingbird. And, oh, me and my... Can I try and fish it out?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So she sort of rolls up her sleeves and brings the sort of bird out up to Etienne. Just to see, just in the nick of time. Not quite past yet, on the verge of death. But there is hope. There is a chance.
He begins snapping his teeth at it.
Oh. Is he trying to eat it?
Unclear.
Okay, and she'll put it back in the plant.
What do you do once you're in there after that?
I'm looking somewhat intently for something. All of it connects. Everything that we are doing, everyone in this room everyone in this place is meant to be here. Mrs. Brathwaite knows that. If she's hidden something, she likes to play a game, there must be something we've not noticed, not seen. And I'll find it, and I'll play this game. Because if it's bringing folks back from the dead that she's after, I've got a prize here. I've got a key. Maybe there's something in here that could spark a little game, spark a little thought, anything.
Make the information move with reason.
Okay. Eight total.
We'll come back to this. Ms. Jean-Baptiste, what are you doing now?
Well, with the notion that the sun is weird, I think Phoebe is going to move inside and either see if she can use the amount of attention that people don't pay to her to either listen in on some conversations or maybe actually try and find Mrs. Brathwaite.
I will tell you one thing as you are approaching the house again. I think probably from a side or rear entrance. perhaps a rear garden entrance or something. There's someone looking down at you from a window on the second story. It's the man in the sun mask. You see his little sun mask face, and he waves at you from the window. And he even, like, from the window, offers you the opium pipe as if to suggest, come find me.
I think Phoebe is going to reach into her little bag, pull out the man in the sun mask's spare pipe, and wave it back at him.
And he just sort of like points sort of like behind him to suggest, like, come find my room.
Cool. I will do that. I don't want to talk to this man. I will do that.
When you get inside the house, you know, sometimes when you're in a place, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this, but sometimes you are in a house, even not a very big one necessarily, where there's one room that feels distinctly separate from the rest of the house. It's somehow quieter. Maybe the sounds of the rest of the house don't penetrate to it, or it feels different in temperature. And you're in a part of the house that's like that. The noise of the guests and the servants, it's very, very faint here. And you can tell that there's not a lot of foot traffic here either. The place is actually, it's quite thick with dust. But there is a stairway that must go up to the room where you believe he is. What do you do?
When I'm going to touch my hand to the stairway, not go up it just yet, but as I stand in this dusty room, does it feel like it's dusty because people don't come here, or is it dusty because this is a spot that time doesn't go here?
Oh, make the information move with that sensitivity, right?
9.
Haskell, I think 2 of those black laces are kind of leaning up against the wall, smirking. And one of them says to the other, I reckon I know him, Welly. And Welly says, I reckon you're right, Stomper. We know him very well indeed. Funny meeting you here, friend.
Interesting use of the word funny.
And they kind of cross their arms and they say, some might say we owe you payback.
What do I owe?
What do you suppose he owes, Welly? Well, Stomper, I reckon he owes us a cracked rib or 2. Maybe a dislocated jaw, like poor Stiletto was given. And they kind of go back and forth like this for a bit. And then a cook comes by and hollers at all of you to get out of the way.
I would like to kind of carry on with the delightful gentleman, Welly and Stomper. But I would also like to to burn a mask to get a capital C clue from my previous role before I do. I'll keep the
the condition would be the
these,
same and everything. Yeah.
These two fine examples of scathing wit. But yeah, I will mark Mask of the Past and then come back to that later.
There'll be an additional complication on the clue, which is you don't get it yet, but I will tell you where to go find it. And that's this. There's a trapdoor, and one of the black laces has clearly been stationed at it, because every time someone walks by and says, "What's that?" they're like, "Move along," right? You're not meant to go down there. Your clue will be found down there.
Okay. So I think Haskell saunters over to these two gentlemen, and he kind of puts his hands on each one of their shoulders and says, nominative determinism aside, I feel like I could happily repay the debt I owe. How about we arrange a time and place where perhaps more of your colleagues can come and take a down payment? If you wish, I'll happily meet you anywhere. Perhaps the courtyard outside, for example, seems like a mighty fine spot for a dust-up, if you don't mind.
And I think of several more of the black laces all kind of like start to hem in a little bit. And Welly says, perhaps we should extract payment right now while everyone's busy unloading their cargo.
I think it will be a fairer fight on open ground. And
they will direct your attention to the servants' stairway that goes up kind of behind the common, the sort of like, common rooms and the guest rooms and things, that connects up with the servants' halls. They say, after you.
So I'm going to lead them out.
Yeah.
And I am... I'm going to use my person Friday to give them the slip and then reappear back in the kitchen.
Okay. Very good. Read that move for us.
Once per session, you can appear in any scene at any time, ready for action. If there is an object or tool that would be helpful in the scene, you have it on hand, add it to your personal quarters. Now, there is an object that I have already in my personal quarters. But I'll describe this first. I'm going to lead them out, and I'm going to deliberately turn a couple of wrong ways, even though I don't know where I'm going. And they're not the sharpest tools in the shed, should we say, these lads. And it's pretty easy for someone like Haskell to give him a slip, and then he kind of disappears through a couple of doors and then reappears. And he reappears in the kitchen, stood upon this trapdoor, and he is wearing Dr. Marlowe's monocle.
Oh, very good.
So, yeah, he's ready to go down and find possibly 2 clues.
Yeah, very good. You can slip in there, and you'll even kind of hear in the distance, like from behind the walls, like them like kind of yelling at each other, like, where'd he go? That kind of thing. So it's good. Miss Quinn, you are approached by someone who you might recognize from society. This is Lord Neville Barrington. He is already in immaculate evening wear. He's coming down the stairs because in an hour or so you're all going to be expected in the ballroom. He is famously kind of a snob, really, very disdainful of anybody who's not in his social class, and also famously wears very, very overpowering cologne, which you can smell as he approaches, even when he's still a few paces away. And he says, if it isn't Miss Quinn, it's so nice to see you.
I imagine it is.
I see you're still in your traveling clothes, Miss Quinn. Have you not been shown to your rooms yet?
Sadly, no. I suppose not everyone has access to high-quality servants these days.
I would be happy to show you to... Well, there's a room across the way from mine that I don't think anyone is currently occupying.
Well, all right.
He goes up the stairs and he says quietly, rather conspiratorially, I'm very happy to see that you finally came around, Miss Quinn. I was led to believe that Mrs. Braweight had made several overtures to you, and that you had turned her down. But here you are.
Indeed. Well, it would hardly be proper to make it too easy now, would it?
Well, but you've made the right decision, Miss Quinn. You've chosen to be on the right side of history, the right side of destiny. Have you given any thought to what sort of position you're going to ask for once the new order is established?
Well, it's difficult not to imagine. Hmm? I'm sure you've given it some thought.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm just happy to be invited along, really.
Humble as always.
See, it's rather interesting, don't you think? This whole, well, changing of the guard, so to speak. Out with the old, in with the older.
Well, of course, that's the appeal, is it not? The fact that it is interesting.
Here we are. And he says, there's a room there. I think you'll find the wardrobe is already filled with all manner of beautiful garments for you to wear.
How thoughtful.
I'll just be in this room right over here if you need anything, Miss Quinn.
Dreadfully kind of you.
What do you
She'll
do?
stand at the door and watch him, wait for him to leave.
He does. And there are several other in this hall, several other guest rooms.
She'll open the door to the one that she was led to, but she won't step across the threshold just yet. She'll just look.
Make the information move with composure.
All right. That's an 8.
Your clue is this. At the threshold of the door on the ground, there is a line of strange metallic powder sprinkled on the ground near the doorway. What do you do?
Cecelie takes her hand fan and scoops up a little of it so that she can examine it closer without touching it.
It's unclear what it is. It could be silver, it could be fool's gold, perhaps pyrite. It could be something else entirely.
She will fold her fan so that a little gets trapped between the pieces of it, and I think she's going to try and find... Oh yes, of course. He'll be there. But she'll have to try and find Dr. Mortimer, I suppose. See if she can identify it. She's the scientist, after all.
As you step away, You walk past another guest room, not the one he's in, a different guest room. The door is open, and a servant, a lady's maid by her dress, steps out of it, and she looks at you and she says, "Oh, forgive me, ma'am. I'll just be going."
No, you don't need to go.
And then she looks at you and she says, "None of us are going to leave, are we, ma'am?"
I think not, sadly.
Take the condition, none of us are going to leave. And she, in a frightened way, kind of dashes off down the hall. Dr. Mortimer, I owe you a clue. Let me give it to you. Something you didn't give any thought to, perhaps, as you were walking around the house, but now is starting to seem too much like a pattern for it to be something that you should ignore. Your mind works a certain way, right? Which is that there is a small blue candle, not lit, in one of the panes of glass, or like one of the, sort of like big glass windows, kind of sitting there. And you would have noticed these little blue candles in many of the windows of the house. That's your clue.
Have they been lit before, or are they fresh candles?
They are fresh. Good question. Etienne. Etienne runs up to you in the sort of strange loping way that he runs when he's excited. I think when he runs also, like, you can hear his joints and insides kind of creaking about.
There's a distinct sloshing.
Right, yeah, exactly. And he lopes toward you with excitement because he's wearing something he found. He found Mrs. Brathwaite's sapphire, and he's wearing it.
Etienne, love, where did you get that?
He looks at you and says, "You know where I found it." And you see now that his eyes are burning blue. Did you miss me, Dr. Mortimer? Did you miss the little baby?
Mortimer runs out of bolts.
This is still the day move. What are you afraid is going to happen right now if you fail?
I'm afraid my sweet boy is never gonna return to his own capsule, his own vessel. He will forever be the haunted baby. That's what I'm afraid will happen.
Roll with sensitivity because of the supernatural nature of this. Do you have any?
Let's one.
Look at your conditions too. Do you have any conditions of relevance here?
Childish, but that's I don't know if I could. And most beloved, but
I think most beloved would be a problem here, right? You're clearly being targeted right now, right? Roll with disadvantage.
It's a 4. It's just a 4.
You can't run forever, Dr. Mortimer. I'll come find you. I've been given very explicit instructions from Mrs. Brathwaite. She told me She told me that you would bring my way back into the world, and she was right. And the ghost is like saying this as you run away, like behind you, like following you. Thank you, Dr. Mortimer. If it makes you feel better, I'll call you Mommy.
Oh God, no! Can I burn a mask? Can I burn any mask?
Yes.
Please. Okay. I will. Can I burn the moss-covered gate? I've already brought the child to life, but I haven't got it marked.
What does the moss covered gate say normally?
You must attempt to bring the child to life.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can mark it. Yeah.
Incredible.
I will, instead of that, I will let you describe how you break the whatever's going on here. Like, what do you do?
That initial fear, and her stomach drops completely from her body. She feels the ice in her veins as Etienne talks with a voice she's not taught him. And as the baby says, maybe I'll call you Mommy, there is a distinctly mothered instinct that just snaps in the back of Mortimer's head, and she remembers her daughter calling her Mommy. She remembers being mother. She remembers caring and loving something, and she loves Etienne. She's made Etienne. Etienne is hers. How dare it? And she stops in her tracks as she is about to bolt and turns and faces this possessed thing and runs back up to it and grabs Etienne by the shoulder and just get out of him. Get out of my boy!
Isn't this what you've always wanted, Dr. Mortimer?
I have always wanted more than anything you could ever possibly give. Get out of him! Get out!
Perhaps we were brought here together. By providence, by destiny.
The only thing that has brought you here is an abomination of science, of the natural order. You should not be here. You should not. And she's going to try and rip the sapphire from Etienne's neck.
You can. And doing so causes Etienne to go back to his normal state.
Oh, thank fuck.
Normal state.
Oh, no.
And he's pawing at it. He's trying to paw at the sapphire.
Oh, no. We can't have that. She puts it into the cloak, into the pocket, one of the pockets, and is just trying to regain. She says, it's okay. It's all right. It's all over now. It's okay. Oh.
He begins chewing on your shoulder.
My boy.
What did you get on your die roll, Ms. Jean-Baptiste? An 8, was it?
Math 9.
It was a 9. Okay, thank you. I do owe you a clue. You had asked the question of like, why is this place little used? Why is it dusty? I don't know if I have the answer to that necessarily, but I will tell you that I previously described that you can't hear the sounds of the house, and they are many, right? It's a very busy, very active place right now, but those sounds are very muffled. And indeed, they eventually disappear entirely, replaced by the ticking of a clock. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. You can hear it, but there's no sign of a clock anywhere. Indeed, much like the sun seemed like it was in a weird place depending on where you were positioned, the ticking of this clock seems like it's coming from a different place, in a different direction, depending on where you're at, how you're facing. But that's your clue. At the top of the stairs, the man in the sun mask is there. He's in his, as you've previously known him to be, in his gold brocade dressing gown, his mask. You can smell that ammonia smell of opium coming off of him. He says, I have to warn you, if you come into my chambers, you may not be able to return.
Phoebe is going to sigh at the threshold. I'd be interested to see if that holds.
Would you now? You might be wondering why I'm here at all. Mrs. Brathwaite and I have a bit of an arrangement, you see.
I had my suspicions. I suppose the work outside is to do with you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course.
I spend most of my time, well, I'm in hiding, you know. I am a recently scandalized member of the peerage, and Mrs. Brathwaite allows me to stay here to cool my heels a bit until I can return to society. That's why I have to wear the mask, you see. It wouldn't help for someone to recognize me.
I thought you were a disgraced member of the royal family.
No, I don't think that's right.
Certainly.
He beckons you to follow him.
She'll follow.
You go into his rooms, and it's like a suite of rooms, right? And indeed, it is like being in a totally different place. You're no longer in this like quiet, dusty, ignored part of the house. Now you're in his part of the house. Let's paint the scene, everyone. Looking around, how do we know or otherwise sense? What do we see? That tells us the man in the sun mask has been a long-time guest of Mrs. Brathwaite.
There are various tapestries and little hanging curtains, all in Miss Brathwaite's favorite color of sapphire blue, that have been dotted around the house. But this part of the house is very much decorated with the man in the sun mask colors, purposely, as if it's always been there, and would look very strange if anything else were to be there. This is specifically for him, all of these yellows and reds and oranges to match his mask.
I think similar to Phoebe's room when she's been in a state and there are charcoal drawings scattered everywhere and a variety of tomes strewn about. In this room, it is a similar affair. Tomes are piled high up against the walls, some threatening to topple over, but definitely indicative that they have been read many, many times over. The spines are cracked. It is unkempt, untidy, as if the servants almost fear to tread in here for all of these towering tomes that could topple on top of them.
There are soft furnishings around, places to sit, comfortable chaise lounge and armchairs. And when one is a visitor, one might sit in different places, but when one stays for a while, one begins to have a favourite spot. And indeed, one of these armchairs, which is surrounded by some of these tomes which are laid open, has that telltale little divot and rustled cushions of the spot where somebody prefers to sit.
So there's a fairly grand 4-poster bed. And above the headboard is a small shelf with grooves notched into it that would exactly fit the sun mask if taken off and rested there. And if you didn't quite understand what that clue meant by looking at it, the four-poster bed has curtains on all sides that button up from the outside.
Feel free to make yourself at home, Ms. Jean-Baptiste. But whatever you do, don't go in there. And he points at, there's a sort of like, there's a room has like a beaded curtain entrance. You mustn't go in there at all.
Oh no. What a devastating temptation you've laid before me. Whatever shall I do?
Well, one has to enforce certain rules in one's space, doesn't one, Mrs. Jean-Baptiste?
Why have you called me here?
Well, I was going to smoke opium with you. I thought that was pretty clear.
I do remember telling you the first time. Was it the first time? I don't partake in that way.
He flops down on the bed and puts the pipe into the little hole in his mask and Miss Jean-Baptiste, have you considered what we talked about last time? That there are worlds nestled within worlds?
Yes, that does strike me as familiar. Have I considered it? There have been many things on my mind since then. Many, many things. But I don't disbelieve you.
We'll cut there. Let's pick up with Miss Quinn, actually. So, Miss Quinn, what do you do now that you've been left kind of awkwardly in the hall of the guest rooms?
Well, this has been disappointingly banal so far. I did want to find Eveline to ask about this powder, but I don't want to see her little homunculus. I think what I shall do is stop speaking aloud to myself and find somebody to speak to. And I think she is going to, once again, abandon the idea of dressing for dinner, which is very uncharacteristic, and try to find somebody who might have some useful information and be a little bit more forthcoming with it.
Perhaps it is getting to be very close to time when everyone is supposed to gather. And so there will be people kind of gradually making their way down to a sort of a parlor of some sort for drinks prior to going to the Sapphire Ballroom, where everyone is expected precisely at 5. And it would be rather gauche to go down in your traveling clothes.
Well, Cecelie did pack her tailor-made silver gown. Whether it has made its way to a room yet remains to be seen. I think that she might pause at the one she was shown to with the trail of powder and think, and then go to the one that young maid came out of and look in there in the hopes that might be the right room.
Interestingly enough, it is... Yeah, I like the idea of that being the right room. I like the idea of the dress being laid out for you already, as if waiting for you.
She will undress and put on the dress as best she can. She will need somebody to help her with the closures at the back, but she'll do what she can before she can scare up another servant. They seem to be dreadfully unattentive.
Indeed. Lord Barrington comes out and he sees you and he says, let me help you, Miss Quinn.
Be careful.
This is an exquisite garment, Miss Quinn.
Yes, it is.
Is there a story behind it?
Yes, there is.
Would you like to share?
No.
Your reputation precedes you, Miss Quinn.
Well, aren't you glad it's accurate?
And he will escort you down to the parlor where people are mingling about. What's your approach here?
I think that sort of standing and waiting for someone to approach her did not bear fruit. Everyone's being a little furtive. So she's going to look around until she sees somebody young, or perhaps not even young, but with that youthful sense of artifice.
Oh, yeah.
That one sees when one is trying their best to look as though they ought to be here and is not quite convinced they should be.
I don't know if you're going to find someone like that, but you will find someone young and filled with artifice. Tatiana Brathwaite is Mrs. Brathwaite's adopted daughter. She's there, kind of holding forth with a group of people, and she's sitting on a couch flanked by two very handsome young men, twins in identical evening wear, Prescott and Loomis. And the three of them are laughing and carrying on. And she looks up at you and she says, well, if it isn't the enchanting Miss Cecelie Quinn.
Good evening. How darling, you dressed your dolls in matching clothes.
Oh, yes. They are rather cute, aren't they? You can have one if you'd like.
Oh, lovely. She'll just arbitrarily point at one of them. Come here.
And Prescott stands up, and they are dressed in evening wear, but each of them has something on their ensemble that is very kind of a faux pas, like intentionally, like a little gauche or a little garish, and also something that helps Tatiana distinguish them from each other. What is on this one's? We'll say it's Prescott.
Prescott has the buttons on his waistcoat done incorrectly. So the top buttonhole is loose and the bottom button is loose.
He walks up to you and he says, I would be delighted to be your date for the evening, Ms. Quinn.
Good.
He's American by his accent. He says, I can't say this is really my normal type of crowd, but, well, I'm happy to have found you in it.
I'm sure you are. What is the thing here that strikes you as the most unusual?
Oh, probably the fact that everyone here is in some sort of cult.
Oh, a strange thing to say. What on earth makes you say that?
And Tatiana says, he's joking, of course. Prescott and Loomis are known for their inappropriate humor.
Transatlantic wit, perhaps.
An unbearable earnestness these Yanks have, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Prescott, get me a drink.
And he gives you a little salute right away. And he goes off to get you a drink. And Loomis can't keep off of Tatiana. He keeps kind of pawing at her, and she kind of like giggles and pushes him away and all that sort of thing. She's actually in menswear, interestingly. And she says, "So, Ms. Quinn, how is tonight going to go for you? Are you going to be a rose, or are you going to be a thorn?"
Roses are ever so common these days, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but I can't think of a flower that smells sweeter.
Aren't you charming?
No, I'm not. But I have to ask the question. Are you going to be in any trouble? Are you on side or not?
Trouble? Me, Tatiana? Does my
Please.
reputation precede me?
Call me Tati.
No. And she sits down next to her. Are you going to be any trouble, dear?
I'm always trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Loomis says, Trouble is her middle name. Tati says, shut up, Loomis.
Loomis, get Tati a drink.
He gets up and gives a short bow and walks off to go get a drink.
Well, I tried it, but it's awful, darling. I'll be calling you Tatiana. Now, what sort of trouble?
Make the information move with presence.
Okay. Ooh, 9. Got 2 presents, so that's 11.
Oh, fantastic. We'll come back to this. Haskell. Initially, the trapdoor just goes to some kind of root cellar or something like that. There's some caskets and things. Really, at a glance, nothing stands out that would explain why they had the trapdoor guarded. What do you do?
Did you say caskets, like coffins?
Or I'm
Or
sorry,
like-
casks and barrels.
Oh,
and
okay.
Crates and things. Yeah. Sorry. that would be something.
Yeah. I think what I'll do is there'll probably be a chute that goes up to outside where they'd load in the casks. I'll pop that open and see if I can get some sunlight and see if I can catch this ever shifting sun to throw a bit more light on proceedings.
No, good call. In fact, I don't need you to roll here because you're still kind of under the purview of your last information move roll. With the light, you can actually see that there is one particular square of the concrete floor that is not dusty like the rest of it. What do you do?
I slip on the monocle.
Oh, good. Remind me what it does.
So it is. It says Sir Richard's silver-rimmed monocle allows the wearer to see through a disguise or spot a hidden clue.
Ah, very good. I will tell you that you will notice that when you put the monocle on that sort of area of concrete, you see now that there are faintly glowing markings or runes on that spot. That's not your clue. That's just further indication of what you should be doing here.
I've got a silver tray from the court of the Fae.
Yeah.
Do I recognize any of the symbols from that on the floor? Even in the kind of type of script that it is? Is it similar?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
I see.
I think what you'll notice in particular, it seems like you're investigating it. Really, the most important thing to notice here is that this is just a bit of false floor. In fact, this little segment of the floor can be lifted, and it leads to the real place. There is a stairway spiraling down even deeper into the house beneath it. What do you do?
Let's go down.
Indeed. Your clue is the existence of this place, which I'm going to describe for you now. These stone stairs that spiral down, you've been in plenty of cellars in your lifetime, and these are not of a make. They're not, they look ancient. They are roughly hewn. They were not made with modern masonry techniques or carpentry techniques. That's one thing to know. Another thing to know is that as you get to the bottom, to the landing, you're in this chamber, and you can see more of these symbols on the walls through your monocle, etched, gently pulsing almost. The air here is cold and heavy with the scent of burnt herbs, mineral earth. Let's paint the scene. How do we know this place wasn't meant for outsiders?
I think with every step that Haskell takes, whatever sound there is echoes, and as the echo fades, the sound sort of morphs into a quite a guttural growl that, even though he doesn't understand what it is, he understands that it's a warning to get out.
There's something in the air that you can't quite smell it, you can't quite taste it, but you know it's there because it's making your eyes itch.
There is more of that script that was on that piece of floor. It trails along some of the walls, and you shouldn't be able to read it. And you can't read it, but you can feel what it's trying to tell you. And everything in your spine and muscles tells you to turn around.
When you don't know the customs of a place, or maybe the history of the culture, when you walk into a room that is filled with it, you don't necessarily recognize or realize why it may be set up the way it is. It all feels a little alien to you. And as Haskell steps into this room, nothing makes sense. Everything feels hostile, from whatever it lies deeper within, to the very slant of the walls, to the way the stone is angled beneath his feet. It is as if this room wasn't made for anyone like him.
Haskell, I'm curious what you do.
I'm gripping my St. Christopher pretty goddamn tight right now. How kind of big across is the room?
I would say the room is about the size of... It actually is like the size of like a... It's actually quite big. It's like a hall, like an ancient like feasting hall. You realize that as you get deeper into it, it's very large.
And is there like a dais at one end, or like a throne or something?
There is a dais at one end, no throne. Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to leave. I think I'm going to have to check out this place a little further. I want to head towards the dais.
Indeed. Mrs. Brathwaite steps into the nimbus of... I think there's like some lantern light down here. She steps into it. Or maybe there's candles lit. She says, "Well, you're out of place, aren't you?"
Understatement, miss.
Well, everyone is expected in the Sapphire Ballroom momentarily. Not you, of course. So what do you think of this place, Haskell?
I've seen my fair share of subterranean ancient caverns, and I think this ranks pretty highly amongst them. I think you've done a lovely job with it.
I can't take any credit for it. It was here when I arrived. Come. Let me escort you back up now.
I think Haskell will start to back away towards the stairs. And I don't think he wants to go with her.
You can just back up and go. She won't stop you. Ms. Jean-Baptiste, the man in the sun mask, starts smoking opium and is like gone to the world at a certain point. What do you do?
I think she looks at him smoking and then turns her attention back to that beaded curtain that he said, "Oh, don't go through." And I think she's going to withdraw his spare pipe. And then I think she's going to actually approach him and nudge his leg.
He says, "Oh, you're still here.
Of course.
Did you just change your mind about partaking in the poppy?"
I did. Please. And then she will offer him his own pipe.
What are you hoping to accomplish here?
She is hoping to take a bit of opium, hold her breath, and walk through that.
Oh, you want to smoke it? You want to smoke it and then hold it and then walk through. Oh, interesting indeed.
There is some reason, whatever ritualistic thing that man in the sun mask is doing with the opium has to do with everything he's involved with. That's her thought process. And maybe this will help her mark herself as part of his aura so that she can maybe come back out.
You go through the beaded curtain and you find yourself in a room dominated by a massive sun-like mural painted in vivid reds, golds, and oranges, spiraling outward. It's profoundly silent in this space, though you do occasionally hear a little whisper. Is she going to do it? Can she hear us? What should we do? Do nothing. Say nothing. Sometimes the whispers are in other languages. Sometimes they're in languages you don't understand or have never even heard before. There's a sharp metallic smell, cut by something warm and sweet like cinnamon. And you realize now that the way in and the way out are not entirely clear. It's not even entirely clear how you got in here. Please make the night move.
Okay.
What are you afraid is going to happen right now if you fail?
Quite simply, I am afraid that I will be lost forever behind this beaded curtain.
That's where I was going with it, so I'm not going to say how it's worse. I think that's enough.
Great.
This is going to be with composure. And let me take a look at your conditions. Do you have anything of relevance? Let's see. Ms. Quincy, no, you don't. So,
That is 6. Yeah.
Eventually, the parlor will begin moving into the Sapphire Ballroom, Ms. Quinn. I will give you your clue that I owe you. This is something that you will learn from Tatiana and Prescott and Loomis, just in your chattering and kind of socializing with them, such as it is. But basically, you'll learn that they're here for something different. They are trying to find Theodora's ledger, which is very important to them. That's the clue. You can give it meaning whenever we go to answer a question, or answer the question. Dr. Mortimer, you and Etienne will be expected in the Sapphire Ballroom directly, or at least you. I'm not sure if Etienne's invited. I'll let you decide on that.
I think, having had the experience that they have, they're keen maybe not to be... By they, Dr. Mortimer is absolutely leading Etienne away from sort of solitude. Before she leaves, she's going to take one of those candles from one of the alcoves.
Good.
Is there anything unusual about it? Anything that doesn't fit?
It's very, very like vivid blue. It's in her color of blue. And it's very short and stubby. It's not fancy. Like, it's very utilitarian.
Games within games within games. She pockets it and moves Etienne sort of out and is like, okay, we're going to go and find Haskell. Haskell will keep us safe. Now, where could he have gotten to?
I would love to put the two of you together at that point. Haskell.
Haskell comes in looking rather flustered and says, good evening, Mom.
Haskell, thank God you're here. We have had a incident.
Incident, Mum?
Don't make me say it, Haskell. It's not supernatural, but it's very bloody close. And with that, she's going to, as I'd like to think, she's watched Haskell on so many occasions gently palm something off to someone on the sly. She's just very neatly, as she's watched him do 1,000 times, reach into the pocket of the coat, bring out the sapphire, and press it gently into his hands, making sure that nobody is watching.
Haskell doesn't even look at it before it's in his pocket, and he knows what it is, and says, I just ran into this trinket's owner, Mum. I didn't notice it was missing, but she probably will.
Well, it's an absolute mystery as to how Etienne got a hold of it. I believe that presence from St. James's Street resides within it.
Are you telling me I have a ghost in my pocket, Mom?
No, I'm absolutely not telling you that, Haskell. I'm giving you a theory, and I'm telling you to just keep it away. Use it. I don't know, but it seems safer with you. And she's sort of stroking, sort of very possessively, like a hand on either side of Etienne's shoulders, sort of stroking him gently, like, it's not safe. Whatever this is it's coming to a head.
I get that distinct impression, Mom.
Be ready. And just before they move off into the ballroom, she'll move one hand from Etienne's shoulder and just gently place it on Haskell's. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. If you can, save yourself.
And Haskell looks at her with the sincerity that it hasn't been able to muster for quite some time, since Etienne, I suppose, and says, I'm sure it won't come to that, Mum. But if it does, I have it in hand.
As you were. And with that, she'll gently move, I imagine a somewhat drooling Etienne at this point, towards the Sapphire Ballroom.
Prescott and Loomis and Elmer the butler and Tatiana Brathwaite have formed a little phalanx around you, Miss Quinn, as you are moving into the Sapphire Ballroom. I think tonight is going to be very interesting indeed, Miss Quinn. I hope you won't be too offended if the three of us excuse ourselves for this part of the festivities. You'll be all right, right?
Oh, of course. You and Linus and Preston, you have fun.
Right, we will. Prescott, Loomis, come. We have to go treasure hunting. And she takes the two of them off. And Elmer says, "This way, madam." Into the Sapphire Ballroom.
She goes that way.
Ms. Jean-Baptiste. At first, you were following the spiraling tendrils of this red sun image, this mural. And eventually, you followed them, whirling, twisting, spiraling, funneling into the red center of it. And then you became lost in the red center of it. Now she's really here. Make way, make way. He is waiting for you. And you find yourself before the man in the sun mask. But he is not a man, he is a king, sitting upon a crimson throne. He's not wearing his mask, but you know it's him. Won't you travel with me, Ms. Jean-Baptiste? Come with me. I have so many things to show you. And he beckons you to join him. And you can feel his courtiers pressing in all around you. Travel with us. Journey with us. See new worlds. And unless you mark the mask, that's the last we see of Ms. Jean-Baptiste. Wouldn't be the worst ending, but...
I think... And I will mark a mask, and I'm annoyed at myself because I meant to roll with advantage and I forgot because I had the... but right. I will say this. I think as the courtiers press in around Phoebe, there is a moment of just dire temptation to leave that place and her humanity, and then she holds on to this pipe that she has in her hand, and she feels something in it snap and give way. And I'm going to mark the Mask of the Past But I think she's going to remember the parts of a humanity that she actually enjoyed. And she's going to say no.
And you find yourself walking towards the Sapphire Ballroom. I think at this point we have enough clues to go ahead and attempt the question. You also have Ms. Quinn's secret, which you can invoke for a clue. Even if there's no die roll attached to it, you can still get the clue for it. We have this sort of weird shifting of the sun in certain places outside, which was intriguing. We have this ornate silver key. We have this line of metallic powder at the threshold of a door, possibly more than one door. We have these blue candles in many of the windows. We have this same kind of spatially strange ticking of the clock. We have this chamber down below in the deep parts of the estate. And it could be a red herring of sorts, but I think there's maybe a connection there, particularly with the guests, that Tatiana and the insufferable American twins are looking for Mrs. Brathwaite's ledger. And then, of course, Ms. Quinn's secret is available for a clue as well. Let's answer this question. Where and how does Mrs. Brathwaite plan on bringing back Camelot? Who has a theory?
Do we need to put Miss Quinn's secret into play first to get that extra clue, or do we just... Is that putting it
Work
on
it
the
in whenever
scale?
you're ready. Yeah, it's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
I believe Wren has some thoughts.
Okay. I think... So the question is where she's planning to raise Camelot. And I think it is the lake. And the reason I think that is, and it ties in with the sun trying to find its correct position. So the Fata Morgana is an illusion that happens over a body of water that is tied to Morgan Le Fay. It is supposed to be technically, when King Arthur was being... I did so much. when after King Arthur died and his body was carried over by the fairies to Avalon, it's kind of, they were trying to figure out where Avalon was. And they believe that maybe a Fata Morgana produced a false island. So I think the sun is trying to find the correct position in order to produce this mirage-like thing, and also this ticking that is not tied to any specific time. It's also trying to find the correct time. And I'm going to add in the secret of Miss Quinn here. Because the secret of Miss Quinn is this. When the demon left Miss Quinn's body after Phoebe managed to suck it out and vacuum, it whispered something to her. And the thing it whispered was, she who opens her eyes and swallows. And Phoebe has been looking into that. And what she found is there is a creature that Miss Quinn is likely tied to. And it has to do with feasting on entertainment. It opens its eyes and devours what is most interesting to it. And currently, that thing that keeps it at bay is Miss Quinn. And I think Theodore Brathwaite is aware of this creature and wants to give it something else to look at.
So let me make sure I understand this correctly.
Mhm.
We believe the location that her big ritual to bring back Camelot, maybe it's Avalon, right? Like whatever it is, like to bring it back, to bring it here. It's going to take place on the lake.
Mhm.
And so tell me more about the creature.
So, and this is a creature I made up in my mind, so I'm
It's okay.
gonna try to figure
I wanna hear
But
it.
okay.
Like, what does the
Essentially,
creature do?
when the ritual was done, whatever the artist did to create this opera that is tied to Miss Quinn's endless longevity, there is a promise made that it will keep going forever, and it is kept sated by the length of this play. And if it turns its attention to something else, Miss Quinn might lose her immortality.
Oh, interesting. So then what is the implication for Mrs. Brathwaite's plan?
She will gain the longevity that she desires.
Got it. Okay, this is getting interesting. Okay, I'm intrigued by all of that. Intriguing. Any other alternate thoughts or nuances?
So we're answering not just where, but how. Is that
How.
correct?
Yeah, the how is important. Yeah.
I would love to throw in an element of human sacrifice, as you do. The metallic powder. I think we saw those. What were they called? The flowers, the pitcher plants that had dissolved pieces of people and left their jewelry behind. And I think when they're left for long enough, the jewelry itself is reduced to metal powder. And I think that a key has been forged with the remnants of these people who have been dissolved after being sacrificed. And I think that candles have been made from tallow from the people who have been sacrificed. And I think part of this ritual is to destroy the current kind of powers that be in aristocracy and take them apart and then build them into something anew.
Oh, interesting. And so the candles and the keys are connected.
Mm-hmm.
And they're connected to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And maybe this is part of this grand display or entertainment that Mrs. Brathwaite is trying to harness here. That's really intriguing. It also gives more explanation to why Hargrave House was invited at all, right? Because like theoretically you're all a threat to her plans, but she had to have Ms. Quinn here at least a little bit to like do this. That's intriguing. Because she did try to actually, because her and Fairweather tried to like literally invite you there, right? To like take you back to Brathwaite Hall. So
yeah,
that all connects up. It's so interesting because it implies that like all these dignitaries and people, that some of them are meant to be sacrifices and some must know something about what's going to happen. Some maybe do or some maybe don't. I don't know. I'm intrigued about the role of the guests here. But Jess.
I think that's where the ledger comes in.
Right.
I think it's a list of names, and what Tatiana and the boys are looking for in that list are who is going to be sacrificed and, like vultures, what they're leaving behind.
Oh, so they intend to go in and take the leavings.
Exactly. Not just the leavings, but maybe any deeds, any lands, whatever it may be. Like you said, there's royalty here.
There's like there's nobility, there's royalty, there's merchants, there are all kinds of important people. Yeah.
There is that anybody sacrificed here could have a lot to lose, basically, and that's maybe
really
what
good.
they're looking for.
Oh, that's great. I'm so happy these American vulture capitalists are here to swoop in and snatch up whatever they can from the wreckage. That's a good use of that clue. I was really worried about that clue. I was like, what are they going to do with that one? That's pretty good. Any thoughts, Pat?
Yeah, I have something. It's just a slight twist on what Jess said about that ledger. That means nothing apart from narratively, and just because I love Tatty Brathwaite so much. I don't think the Americans know. I think that she's just told them that they're going to steal a treasure map. Tatty Brathwaite actually knows what's in that ledger, but the Americans do not.
Oh, indeed.
And I think that the chamber lined with symbols that Haskell stumbled upon, I don't know whether that is where the coronation will take place, or whether that was where the coronation initially took place, and now the ley lines have shifted or something over the course of like geological
the chamber is
time.
interesting, right? Because the chamber definitely implicates place, right? But that is not the lake. We haven't seen the lake yet. And it sounds, if we go with the lake, that's probably where our final kind of showdown is going to happen, right?
Could it be that that's where Camelot originally was raised or existed at some point? That's what gave Theodora Brathwaite the proof that she needed.
She like literally found it.
She found it and went,
like
I can make it again, and I can make it better.
Well, we know she,
and I can bring it back.
right? We know she found it, right? Because what's her face, the Fae hostage, told you that she had made contact with the Fae realm, and they were like, yeah, it's like here. And maybe I mean, we don't know when she learned about the significance of that rune beneath the, or that chamber beneath the land, but it's clearly why she built her house here, right? On top of it. So that's really intriguing to me.
Also,
I wonder.
Oh no, I was going to say, I was about to say my history is not too good, but I'm very aware that it's not real history. Wasn't King Arthur, that whole business, whatever happened, didn't it involve someone in a lake with a sword?
It did, yes.
The Lady of the Lake.
There was a lady in the lake. There was a sword.
Stands to reason. There's a lake. There's the old Camelot right there. Again, I'm not a history buff.
I mean, she was Fae as well, so that would track.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's that interesting Fae connection, right? I mean, like that's intriguing, right?
I was wondering about that, the chamber being where she summoned the Fae and communed with them, because we said that there were runes there that matched the silver tray that Haskell has. And I'm thinking about the spider queen, as I've taken to calling her, that Fae creature. Part of her modus operandi was to offer a place in court to people, draw them in, and then sacrifice them. So I wonder if this is a ritual which she has learned from the Fae, something that they do, a trick that they play from communing with them in this place connected to Camelot.
Well, and also if you think of what she's trying to do with this demon as almost like striking a bargain with it, like that, there's something intriguing about that, right? Like, because it's almost like saying that like the Fae told her about the binding, like the sort of Fae contracting that happens here to make it work, right? They like literally taught her like what you have to do. It's very intriguing. So then I guess what I'd like to know is like, what does the demon, like, I mean, we don't have to get too specific here, but I'm curious about the mechanics of it. Like, is the idea that she is going to just like create Camelot in a sort of like figurative sense with her and whoever she's brought back from this mythic place, like, and they're going to live forever and rule? Or is it going to be more like in the sense of she's literally causing, Camelot or like Avalon or like whatever this like other place is to like layer atop the world, right? Like I guess I'm curious what we think that is. Like what's the mechanics of it here? Like your characters aren't aware of it, but of course we had this sort of like stinger scene last time, right? Where she's we think she found King Arthur. We don't know for sure, but so like or something, so who knows? But so I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts on that.
I always kind of felt more like she was trying to harness the power of Camelot, and King Arthur was the kind of the poster boy.
Create some like new, almost like a throwback way of being or something. Yeah, that's intriguing. Yeah.
I think I always preferred that to like, hey, Camelot's going to just grow out of the
just
ground.
just appear. Yeah. Well, I kind of imagine it being like almost like a kind of like shifting of the blending of the worlds or something, you know, like
Yeah, that's why I
bleeding
was
into our world, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of like with the mirage over the water, they tend to kind of appear upside down a bit, and so
Yeah.
I think it's sort of like this, like the man in the sun mask was saying, nesting this world into another world,
Right. Yeah.
kind of thing. So it's not completely here, but here enough.
Well, that
to
explains his presence
influence.
here too, right? Like it explains his
Yes.
presence here is explained by this theory, right? Like she would want to know about such things, right? And so she's hosted him, and his. She seems like she just kind of keeps him, keeps him up in the attic or whatever for a while, but like, or you know, for most of the time. All right, let's work through the clues.
Endless
then.
supply of opium.
Yeah, let's look for the clues. Let's see what we got here. This is really intriguing. Okay, so I think the sacrifice thing seems to be the really like key thing to me, right? This idea of the blue candles and the metallic powder. The key, is it a symbolic thing? Is it a literal? Are these literal keys that have to be used for something? Like I'm still not so sure what that is.
What if it's similar to the key that Phoebe has, which I established she can use it to kind of unlock like a space in between a world. So it's not really so much of she needs to put the key into something, but it's sort of the act of unlocking something.
It's symbolic. It's like magically symbolic.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you got it. I mean, like, okay, so just to recap for all of us and anybody watching, her plan is ultimately to draw the attention of this entity, and this entity will allow her to establish what is essentially kind of an eternal kingdom here. And he might also allow, we haven't established this yet, but there might actually be like literal figures from myth who the entity helps her kind of like give eternal life to. We don't quite know that yet, but in any case, it's the power of this entity that will give her this sort of like everlasting life, this everlasting dominion. She intends to make sacrifices of the mighty and the great in order to draw the thing's attention. This is physically done with the candles, which are made from their tallow, from their fat, and also their riches are forged into these keys, which are sort of a symbolic like opening of the way. Love all that. That's really great. Very ritualistic. We know that this is going to happen because Tatiana, there's a list of the people who are going to die, basically, right? Which is intriguing to me. Remind me again, Wren, of the clock and the sun. What role does that play again in all of this?
So that had to do with the appropriate time to nest a world within a world.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. Perfect. Which is just to say that this is a place where it's going to happen, and the timing is such as it is. That's great. Intriguing. Let's see if you're correct. This is a +2. Who wants to roll? If there's no objection.
Just put your hands up.
Randy, you brought in the Fata Morgana, which is like the absolute like MVP element of this. So I think it's
Ren.
you.
Oh no. Please. I'm scared. Okay, what is it? +2? 10.
10. Very good. Let's just push right into the resolution. You all have discussed what you think is happening here. You've put all the pieces together, and everyone is gathered in the Sapphire Ballroom. So named because all of the chandeliers have had their crystals painted in her signature color, and so it gives off this blue light. There's a checkerboard floor of alternating silver and sapphire tiles. Most strikingly, there is an enormous tapestry that takes up one entire wall. It's a tapestry she's clearly had commissioned, and it depicts significant military and political defeats in British history. So there's a lot of things you probably don't recognize, things involving, Lancasters and Plantagenets or whatever, right? Things like that. But also some very things you would be more aware of. Battle of Hastings, the American Revolutionary War, for example. Things like that are all depicted. It is her final statement to everyone that she's won, that she's going to bring down the crown. Some of the people in the crowd are appalled by this, but many are not. Many are a little they have the gleam of opportunism in their eyes, ready to take up their place in this new order. The people who are appalled are probably the ones that are intended to be sacrificed. The party, it's not a party at this point, really. It's mostly just a gathering spot. Everyone is funneled through the ballroom to the opposite side, where there is an exit that goes directly out into the grounds, and a path. The path winds down to the lake. Everyone is following this path. Many people seem to know about what's happening here. Other people are nervous and unsure about where they're all going, where they're being led to. But it is the nature of people to fall into line, right? And so even the people who are unclear about what's happening here, who are a little scared, who wonder why they're wandering around in the dark, going down this path, even they fall in line. Even they lower their voices. Even they take on a mantle of solemnity as they go down to the banks of the lake. Little boats waiting to take everyone out to a small island in the center of the lake where torches have been lit. What are all of you doing?
Are we together?
You can be.
I guess that's a question for everyone. Are we together?
I have no objection.
Yes, I think so.
I think so.
All right. Haskell, if you wouldn't mind. And Mortimer indicates for you to hold the boat as she steps in and then helps Etienne in as well.
I think once everyone's aboard, Haskell begins to row this toward thing, feeling the gunshot wound in his shoulder with every stroke.
As all the boats make their way across the lake, as we are literally rowing into the past, let's have our masks of the past.
Narrate a flashback to your young adulthood before you were a servant that shows what a charmed life you lived. We've seen this before. It's a balmy Mediterranean evening, somewhere in the old town, probably the French Riviera. And the sound of laughter is echoing along the rooftops as the man we know as Haskell follows Blake in a hasty retreat. Blake is feeling every bit his age. He can't keep doing this. This is too risky. This is going to get them both killed. And what is there to laugh about, really? He gets to a point where it just ends, the rooftops end in a sheer drop down into the alleyway below. But the kids got the loot, so they need to get across. And he finds a beam and lays it across the gap. He may be starting to lose his edge, but he can make this. And he quickly does. And as he reaches the other side of this alleyway, he sees the kid still laughing, holding under his arm the vase they've just stolen. The vase he can't believe they just stole. He can't believe that the kid had the gumption to just walk in and walk out with that thing. Blake motions for him to throw it, and he does. And as he does, the wrapping comes off and falls to the alleyway below, and he catches this vase, this incredibly valuable, probably ancient artifact in his hands, and thinks, well, now I hold all the cards. And he sees the kid start to make his way across the plank. And this is his opportunity. He just subtly nudges his foot against where it meets the brickwork. And he sees the kid topple and fall into the alleyway below. It was too easy. Much too easy. And then he hears laughter coming from the alleyway below. I suppose this is good a place as any to finish this. So he quickly works his way down a fire escape, takes the pistol out from the back of his jeans, cocks the hammer, traces the laughter to a open laundry basket in which he sees the kid. Some luck this kid's got, right? Well, it's about to run out. But then the noise of the gendarmes gets nearer, and he hears the screams, "Allez, allez, allez, bush, bush, bush." And he dives in to the laundry basket, laying on top of the kid. And that's when he realizes, as the feet of the gendarmes comes thundering by, that not only is this kid good, but this kid is sweet on him. And that feels like leverage. Too good to waste. Maybe one more job.
Narrate a flashback that shows when you cruelly discarded the artist. It wasn't just a season. It was the next season too, and the season after that. And eventually years passed where everyone in society knew that if Cecelie Quinn was to be seen, then walking alongside her would be that plain young girl, the musician. A very quiet young girl, but utterly devoted, it seemed. And it wasn't just in society that Cecelie and the musician were together. They would spend evenings talking laughing, even. The musician saw Cecelie slouching. The musician heard Cecelie tell stories about herself over glasses of whiskey. The musician never pushed for more. The musician never asked for anything, really, but sometimes she gave stories in exchange. She would tell Cecelie about how her parents came to this country with nothing and worked so hard so that she could learn to play the viola. And Cecelie would try to imagine what it would be like to have nothing and would struggle to imagine it. And they'd laugh over that too. But after those years had been going on, it started to become not uncommon to see Cecelie on her own again. Because you see, the musician was no longer just a musician, she was a composer. She had been commissioned to write an opera of her own, and now she was busy in rehearsals, ready to debut her masterwork to the world. She never spoke about it to Cecelie. That's one thing she didn't share. She told Cecelie, I want to wait until it's done. I want you to see it when it's finished. I want you to hear the music when it's finished. Occasionally, Cecelie would retire to bed and she'd hear the musician in the next room humming snatches of arias. And she'd wonder, what does this woman, who is my friend, writing about? This woman who never wants anything of me, who never tries to touch me, but simply exists in my presence. What will she write about? So we find ourselves outside of an opera house on a cold autumn day as the rain pours down in sheets. The paving stones are slick, and Cecelie, in the finest gown she owns, covered over in a big shawl to protect against the rain, stumbles across the paving stones, giddy with excitement, walking alone. In her bag, the ticket that was left on the table in her apartments this morning, the debut of her friend's opera. And she comes to that imposing grey building and she sees for the first time a poster. The distant celestial has another name. Cecelie. And she realizes in that moment that she was beloved not as a friend, but as a muse. And she turns and she walks away back into the rainy night. And that fine box in the opera house is left open all night with no one sitting in it. But of course, the thing about a box is they're not actually a very good place to watch a production from. They're not angled towards the stage. They're angled towards the auditorium. The point of a box seat in a theatre is for everybody else to see that you are there. And that is why the composer, who is down in the orchestra pit conducting, is the last person in the building to know that Cecelie did not come to see the distant celestial. She's never seen it.
Narrate a flashback to your young adulthood that shows a time when you used your supernatural affinities for selfish purposes. She couldn't get over it. That hurt. She felt. She tried to avoid going to her father's home again. For her own sake. For her mother's sake. She couldn't help it. And so She went one more time just to see if maybe it's been years, maybe he's changed his mind. And she stops at the gate and she sees him, and he's older, and his wife is older, and in between them is a young child. And there's something in the look of affection that he gives to that child, and the look of disgust that she remembers, like it's happening right before her. And she stays at the gate, not in their view, but she stays until they go inside, and she stays as the sun begins to dim, and there is just a heat in her chest that is spreading through her bones, spreading to her eyes. And maybe tears are falling, and maybe they're burning away into steam, but she is burning. And she is staring at the house, and as the whispers come and they say, "Let us help, we can help. Just let us try." And they begin to press into her bones, and the heat won't stop. And she looks at the house, at the dwindling spire of chimney smoke, and more smoke begins to start appearing at the top of the roof, coming through the windows. "Let us help, we can make him suffer. You want him to suffer," and she wants him to suffer. She wants him to suffer. And the servants are screaming, and she sees the wife run out, and she sees the child in her arms, and she doesn't see him. And the servants are running, and they're leaving, and they're fanning, and they're calling for anyone, for help. And she doesn't see him. And the house begins to burn and burn and burn, and she stares, and there are tears in her eyes as it burns and burns. And then she turns. She walks away, realizing what she's done. She didn't come here for this. But she can't help the satisfaction that she feels, knowing that she did it and she could do more. And for the first, no, not the first, the second, the third, it doesn't hurt. Things like this don't hurt.
Splendid, thank you all. You all reach the little island. There are bonfires lit. And as everyone is sort of making their way up the bank, out of the boats, certain people in the party begin to remove those blue candles from their pockets. They light them with matches, or maybe if they walk by a bonfire, they just light it there. But the blue candles are lit. Others take their silver keys out of their pockets. Miss Quinn, you'll notice Elmer fumbling for his, and it's not there. But others take the silver keys and they join Mrs. Brathwaite at the round table. Except it's not a table, really. It's a large, circular, sacrificial slab carved with ancient runes, and around which a dozen moldering corpses, skeletons, dressed in shredded garments, have been situated, propped up. The keys are set before each of these skeletons. The candles make a circle around all of it. Mrs. Brathwaite stands up. She's wearing a diaphanous blue gown of sort of chiffon or something like that, and a circlet on her head. Do you feel that, everyone? Do you feel that shifting in the air? This is the appointed time and the appointed place. I am the lady on the lake in this moment. Indeed, let's paint the scene. How do we know that at this precise moment, nested worlds are shifting in and out right now in this place?
We see like the aurora borealis in the sky, but when it shifts, we see the briefest of glimpses of people, of civilizations, of almost like the constellations are speaking to us through this kind of hazy spectral fog. And it's really unnerving the way that the light forms the image and then quickly moves on as soon as you realize what it is.
Among the flora, the trees of this place, there is a strange sheen that comes over the trunks of trees, of their branches. The light catches them. Wood absorbs light, but it reflects it back towards you, almost in a, well, chrome doesn't exist yet, but this is odd and strange.
That light and its character is being cast by so many candle flames which flicker and dance. And as you gaze upon Theodora standing proudly and speaking, the shadows of those flickering candle flames dance across her. And it seems for a moment that she looks different. A younger Theodora, an older Theodora. For a moment she almost looked like a man. A king in blue, and then back to a queen, a princess. There are so many Theodoras ahead of us dancing in the candlelight.
Very briefly, in flickers, in moments, physics doesn't seem to quite work. Anomalies that can't be explained by science begin to appear. Fish are floating above the water. Theodora's hair is swaying as if she is underwater. The corpses start to move, to twitch, as if alive, to sit up and then sink back down. It is as if a new world is taking place, one that has always existed and yet never at all. We all feel as the air in our lungs is replaced with water briefly and then expelled. Are we in the lake? Are we on top it? Are we part of the veil? We don't know where we are in space or time currently.
At the appointed time, that shifting, flickering image, particularly of the people seated around the table, it holds for a moment. And instead of these skeletal figures, you see men. They are not the gallant knights of fairy tales and storybooks. These are savage men dressed in furs. They have a wild, hungry look in their eyes. And Theodora intends to keep them here. And now for the gaze. The gaze that will lock all of this into place. I'm very sorry, Miss Quinn. I'm not sure what's going to happen to you momentarily, but I suspect a great many years are going to catch up with you rather quickly. Bring forth the first sacrifice. And some person, a young, some young baron or something, is kind of shoved forward toward the table. This is the first act of this particular play that she intends to be going forever. How do you all stop her?
Is it clear initially how the sacrifice is intended, or how it would take place? Is there an axe?
She has a knife. I think she intends to cut their throat on the stone table.
Mortimer, with her medical skills, is just rolling up her sleeves and getting ready to staunch some bleeding, and is going to move essentially just throw a look at the rest of everyone and then move around the table towards where injury may occur.
It's too late, Dr. Mortimer. I see you all getting into place, Hargrave House. There's nothing you can do anymore. Haskell, what are you doing?
Can we find out what Miss Quinn and Miss Jean-Baptiste are doing first?
Miss Quinn, Miss Jean-Baptiste, what are the two of you doing? Miss Quinn, how do you know that? I mean, I don't know how much you're aware of like the role that this entity plays in your longevity, but I'm curious how you feel right now, because even now its attention is moving away from you.
Cecelie doesn't know why she is eternal, but she knows it has something to do with the way that she is worshipped and seen and beheld. And she knows, she can feel something shifting. And in her finery, her gown crafted by the hands of the Fae, she steps up onto the other side of that stone slab. And she speaks, and she says, "This is a farce, a silly little game for children.
What are you doing, Miss Jean-Baptiste?"
Phoebe is going to, having just for a moment experienced the madness beyond the veil, is going to draw out her Venetian star mask, and in a method almost similar to the man in the sun mask, is going to place a mask on her face, and I'm going to try a rite of salt and smoke.
Oh, interesting. To countermand the magic.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. You all got a 10, so I don't even need any die rolls here. I just want to know what role everyone plays in stopping the ritual.
Mortimer isn't allowing life to leave this island tonight. Artificial life may have entered it, but no life that willingly stepped foot on this island will leave it, not on her watch.
So whenever they strike the first sacrifice, you will be there to try to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, will be the plan.
Haskell, how are you helping stop it?
Haskell sees Phoebe winding up to do some cosmic nonsense in the corner, and he kind of makes quite a drastic decision. He walks over to Miss Quinn and takes her hand and says, "Forgive me, miss." And he slides Rabbi Solomon's ring off her finger. Then, before Miss Quinn can do anything, Haskell climbs onto the stone table and kneels in the middle of it as the blood is rushing in from all these people who are being sacrificed. And he puts the ring down in the center, he puts the sapphire on top, and he takes the fey tray and looks to Miss Jean-Baptiste as if to say, "It's now or never, kid."
I'm so intrigued by this. Ms. Jean-Baptiste, what do you do?
What do I do indeed? I am going to... So, in Rites of Salt and Smoke, I make an offering to dark entities. Can I make an offer to the man in the sun mask for not now, but later?
Sure. What do you have in mind? For the magic, what do you have in mind?
I'm going to attempt to okay, Haskell has done that. I'm going to attempt to bar a place or portal to a specific person or creature, and I'm going to bar it from...
You're going to
Miss
turn away the
Brathwaite.
gaze.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that it could also turn away its gaze from Ms. Quinn, though?
Well, if I roll the complication, probably, Jason.
I want to just zoom right up to that. I think Ms. Quinn is the die roll here.
Yeah.
Just tell me about the magic. What do you do here, Ms. Jean-Baptiste?
Phoebe seems to reach out into the thin air, and there is a kind of almost miasmic force shape gathering in her hands as she draws them back close towards her. She is gathering pieces of the immaterial and folding it into her hands to grasp hold of this place and this time. And she looks towards Haskell, towards the sapphire and the ring. And Theodora has worn this thing forever. It is filled with her essence. And she takes this miasma and folds it and twists it and turns it and then presses it into and beneath your hands, Haskell, forming around this pan, this tray that you have in your hand. You can see it beginning to shift and twitch, and parts of it almost begin to sharpen, stick out. It is less of a flat pan and more like the armored carcass of a tortoise that you're now holding on to. And you can see she's holding this force towards you. And she says, "Now."
And with one last look back at Miss Quinn, he does it.
Miss Quinn, the entity that you were not even aware of, maybe you were aware of it in the sense of you're always being watched. You've always been the center of attention. Everywhere you go, people look at you. You've always just had this feeling of being the center of attention. But now you feel that slipping away. What do?
I stand in the shifting light of countless candles made of sacrifice, and shadows and light dance around me and across me. But my visage does not shift and dance. The silver of my gown reflects light up and on my face, and I shine. I shine, and I say, do not follow this false god, shifting and inconstant, weak and defeated again and again. I am the light you seek. She is a thing of shadows and playful games, cunning tricks, but nothing more.
I love it. At the end of this, it's just weak, gray, early morning light, dappling the lake waters. It's Dr. Mortimer frantically trying to triage the situation and to prevent Etienne from licking and lapping and chewing at things he's not meant to be. It's Haskell and Ms. Jean-Baptiste unconscious from the powers that they've been contending with. And Ms. Quinn staring at Mrs. Brathwaite brought low. She looks up at you, Miss Quinn. She smooths her hair back. She's covered in smears of blood and mud. So what happens now?
The world continues to spin. And you continue to be an insignificant speck upon it, I suppose.
You really are a captivating person, Miss Quinn. For a moment, last night, for just a brief moment, I saw me in another place. I saw you and I in another place. I saw how things could have been different. I don't think I like this reality very much.
There may be others that you would have liked more. But sadly, you must stay in this one, my dear.
Haskell hasn't felt quite himself since the incident on the lake at Brathwaite Hall. There was so much going on there that he couldn't comprehend. He couldn't get his mind around, no matter what he's seen working with this group of people in this line of work. And it's not the shrapnel of sapphire that was embedded in his ribs that the doctor removed, or the force of the blast that held him 20 meters onto the shore. He hasn't felt anything like whole since touching Miss Quinn's hand. And of late, maybe 2-3 months from the incident, he's been watching that house again, the house in Hackney that no one comes in and no one goes out, the house to which he holds the only key. And today, a kind of rainy late spring day, he feels dreadful. And he is, in one hand, rolling the St. Christopher across his knuckles, and in the other, getting ready the key to open the door to this place. And he approaches from the back through a nondescript alley that links two sets of tenements together and approaches the door. And as he does, he hears the telltale click of a shotgun being readied behind him. And he doesn't flinch. He just says, "It's only me, Pearl." And we see an elderly lady, probably in her 80s or 90s, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and lowering a double-barreled shotgun. She says, "You look terrible." And he says, "Put the word out. We're closing up." And he puts the key in the door and he opens it and enters a nondescript room in a nondescript house. Spartan, not much furniture. One picture on the wall. Fairly mundane, prosaic portrait of a horse. Not really much artistry behind it. And he takes the picture down. Behind that is a safe. And he slowly works the combination. And the door pops open. And at that point, he starts to feel himself weaken. And he slumps to the ground in front of this open safe and sits for hours, ebbing away as person after person enters this room through the open door and helps themselves to an item that he has accrued over the years from this safe: pearls, jewels, gold, fragments of ancient artifacts. And as each person comes in, they nod to him. We see the woman who owned the breaker's yard, the fruit seller from outside the Dog and Whistle. These each come in and each take their one item from the safe. They place a small flower upon Haskell. Daisies, posies, carnations. And after a few hours, the people stop. The safe is empty. And Haskell is fading. And then one last set of heavy footsteps enter the room. Haskell looks up, he smiles softly and says, "You took your time."
Phoebe becomes Phoebe and Sasha for a while. And then a while becomes more than a while. And it never really crossed her mind much what love would feel like in this way. It was never really on the cards for her as far as she was concerned. She thought she would have died, possibly before that would come her way. And she isn't quite certain if she loves him, but it must be something close to that, at least. And he is beautiful, and dancing is his life, but they do take breaks in between seasons. And so, on the off season, when a trip is proposed, she considers it and considers it more. She hasn't left London in a long time. And there was only ever one place that she wanted to go, somewhere her mother wanted to take her, but when her mother passed, she never ended up going. It was a trip for them both. And she considers taking it with him. And she mentions it, and he makes it happen. And so we see the two of them boarding a very large steamship. It's going to make its way across the Atlantic, down towards the Caribbean. And he asks her, you can still change your mind, if you want. If you don't think it'll be good, we can do something else. We can go to Brighton or something. And she smiles and she kisses him, and he softens, and yes, this must be something like love. We'll come back to London soon enough. I just want to see what she used to talk about. And they get comfortable, and the ship leaves. And of course, as always, the spirits follow behind her.
We see an opera house. And we see a box. And we see Cecelie Quinn sitting and waiting to see if Eveline Mortimer, under whose door she had slid a ticket that morning, is going to appear.
Like a shadow, Mortimer darkens the doorway to the box and gently closes the door behind her and sits next to Cecelie.
I'm not all too knowledgeable about wine, but I was assured this one is an excellent vintage. And I know that you are not all too fond of opera, but I've been assured this one is rather interesting.
Well, if it comes by your recommendation, it can't be too shabby.
The thing about a theatre box is that it doesn't actually give you a very good view of the stage. They're not angled towards the stage, they're angled towards the auditorium, because the point of sitting in a box is for everyone to see you there. And that is how the whole of the audience of this particular production of The Distant Celestial watch one very prim and proper woman sipping wine and one captivatingly beautiful woman ignoring the wine completely as she leans further and further forward until she is hunched in a horribly uncomfortable position, twisting herself to see what is happening on that stage, seeing the representations of a woman in gaudy makeup, corseted to create unrealistically skinny proportions, singing to people in a joyful, jolly way, and she looks and sees the governess who as a child she lost, turned into a joke, a clown, a cameo moment for laughs, and she turns back and sees the auditorium laughing and pointing and dancing along at these jolly tunes, and at the end of it all, as she hunches over the edge of the box to see the representation of herself alone with a tired, tired, uncared for voice singing out that high note it can barely hit. The auditorium can see the tears flowing down her cheeks freely. And they can see, as she turns back to the other woman in the box. And they can't hear, but they can see that she is speaking and crawling towards that woman and pulling the gloves off of her hands and grabbing that woman's hands, those miraculous hands that can heal. And what they don't hear is, Eveline, is that how she saw me? Is that how those who gaze upon me see me? Is that what I am? Answer me, Eveline, is that what I am?
Dr. Mortimer pulls her hands back, as if burned. She stands and brushes off her cloak. I'm afraid it's much, much worse than that. And she leaves the box. As she leaves the box, as she moves down into the street, wraps the cloak around her tightly to avoid the winds, her eyes flit about the figures moving down. A sort of rage has overcome her. The immortal woman that was once the backbone of Hargrave House is nothing more than a sham now. The mystery is gone. Something she could battle with, look up to. It is infuriating and emptying. And as her eyes look down the street, very briefly and all at once, they catch a pair of very familiar baby blues. Those are the eyes of Cora Stockhill. Cora, magnificent, waltzes down the street and doesn't acknowledge Eveline. Beautiful as ever, and as Eveline watches her go, the realization sinks in that she was just another client, just another John. There's always Etienne. As if she's losing her grasp on the world, she runs back to Hargrave House. The gods are dead. Love doesn't exist. There must be something. There must be something in Etienne that can save her right now in this desperate state. And as she enters Hargrave House, we see piles of letters, rejection letters from large medical institutes, refuting Etienne's existence, refuting the idea that she has created life artificially. She is a laughingstock. And she runs down into that secret second laboratory, pushing aside a bookcase to get in. Etienne has shown no improvement. He gnaws at the wood of the desk. The tomes that Mortimer has left him with go unread. There is no life here. It's a facsimile at best. She's failed. She's failed, and she's tried to love it. She's tried to bring it to life. She's failed. And she can't do this anymore. It's the last string. They never find her body. The last that anyone sees of her. is a hunched, crow-like woman walking towards Tower Bridge.
Hargrave House is a grand mansion on a square in Belgravia. There are other mansions on the square, but they've sat empty for years on account of the fact that no one wants to live next to Hargrave House. But someone has moved in finally to one of the great homes next door. The residents of Hargrave House haven't yet had a chance to meet the new owner. He is supposed to be a former military man, a retired admiral in the Royal Navy. And he has parties almost every night. Old, white-haired, white-bearded sailors coming in and out, reliving their glory days in the fleet. They drink, they fight, they sing songs and shanties, normally boisterous, always annoying. But on this night, they sing a song that is low, quiet, a droning song. Heave ho, stars below, chimera finds the way. Night falls and so we go, stargazing in the bay. Stars above and stars below, 3 heads will call us home. A sweeter milk we'll never know, but in our dreams we'll roam. That concludes this campaign arc of The Between. If you'll have a few minutes for Stars and Wishes, I'd love to do that.
I have a wish. What's that? What's that about? I wish you would tell us. Oh my god. I'm unmuted. I'll go first. Stars. Oh my god. Okay. Dr. Mortimer, Jess, when you were in the conservatory, just like when Etienne was, and this is a partial star for Jason, how could you do this to us? How could you bring back the baby? Thank you for that. That was terrifying.
You gotta play the hits in the finale, right? So.
But just like the urgency and the desperation in Mortimer, like trying to get her child back, tying in when she heard her daughter say "mummy," and that being the trigger, you know, to for her to try, and it didn't work out in the end, clearly. But you know, just the attachment that she had in Etienne was so clear. I just really applaud you for that. Cecelie, Michelle, like those last jabs that you had at Mrs. Brathwaite at the end, like where did you conjure this poetry from? Like I don't understand. Like how did it flow out of your mouth like this? It was so good, so poignant. Like every word was just so necessary and exciting to listen to, and I just loved that. And then Matt Haskell. Backing away was a great choice, and we'll never fault you for that. But the ending, the epilogue that you had with Haskell, where it was just all of these people, it was so beautiful. Just like as he's losing these pieces that he's collected, he himself is fading. And then the boots at the end, just like, because they've come to take the last thing being your spirit. I got you. God. It was just really beautiful and such a lovely end for Haskell. Someone else talk. I'm gonna get real sad now. Goodbye.
I don't want to talk because I am also very sad, but like I'm genuinely distraught that this is coming to an end. This has been probably my favorite actual play of all time that I've ever been part of. I've just really enjoyed every single minute, every mechanic, everything that everybody's worked into this from the beginning to the end, when we just came in with a couple of names and a general description and no idea of who our characters were. And now we have a story that genuinely just makes me bristle at every like memory. There's always something that everyone was doing, and it just, again, I've said it 1,000 times, it just fills a part of my soul, basically. Phoebe, aka Wren. What a devastating temptation. What a devastating temptation. Just a great line, but your interactions with the man in the sun mask have repeatedly borne this sort of beautiful fruit. These tapestries of imagery that are not loose. They are somewhere in another realm, another world. And every single time we get excited and terrified by the man in the sun mask because we know that something good's going to come because you're going to be part of that scene. And then terrified because man in sun mask, I hate him. But your interactions with him are always just so fun. And you make it seem so effortless. It's just so good. I really enjoyed all of that. Cecelie, aka Michelle. Your interactions with Tatiana Brathwaite, I can't. Tati said, it was like finding that intellectual other. You're like, yeah, you're kind of worth my time, but not really. And it was so clear in everything you were doing with her, and the boys get me a drink or whatever it was. Again, that immediate sense of entitlement. She knows where she is. She knows who she is and what this room is to her. It's the finale. We're all sat there going, "Nah, we're gonna die. This is gonna be awful." And Cecily's like, "Get me a drink." It was just so pitch perfect. The face-off with Mrs. Brathwaite at the end, just iconic. And you dressed for the occasion as well. It was, it all so undeniable, so incredibly undeniable. And your final epilogue as well. That was brilliant. That was really well described. I really loved it. Haskell, aka Matt, your flashback, the epilogue, hurt me. It really hurt me. Haskell has been this sort of solid state character the whole time, and this is the first time where he's relinquished of his own volition, and I can only assume he is now dead. And I wasn't ready for the flowers, and I wasn't ready for the outpouring of grief from his little connective community that he's fostered. The fingers in so many pies all coming together. The descriptions of Blake as well, and that full twist on its head from that very first scene where we saw Haskell and that first flashback to what Haskell is now. It's a full 180, and it was so perfect. And great use of the monocle. I feel like items was something that I definitely didn't use to my advantage. You were just so on it, and every time you use something, I was like, "Oh yes, that's something to do." But yeah, as a player, you absolutely crushed this. It was absolutely fantastic to watch you weave that story together, and kill many children. Jason, your embodiment of every single character and every single theme in this is just second to none. You've just made this such an all-encompassing and immersive world. And we don't want it to end. We've been very vocal about that in the Discord. It feels so fleshed out and full, and you give us such liberty with the way we answer questions and the way we fold that into the way that the questions pan out, how everything's answered. It's a great game. I feel very lucky that you were running it for us, like really lucky. But I've had an absolute blast. So thank you so much for making this game. Make more games. And also, yeah, I can't wait for season 2, Chimera Boogaloo or whatever it's gonna be.
I have a wish that it wasn't the end. I had to narrate that Cecelie was crying, because if I did cry, I knew I just wouldn't be able to stop crying and I'd be a mess for the rest of the session. How do you give stars when everything all of you did was so incredible? Jason, star for making this game, and also for like sitting at a table with like 4 if you count me, of the biggest curveball ballers who ever curved, and never once skipping a beat, and just always taking everything we wanted to contribute to this world and making it part of your world in such a beautifully seamless way. It's a genuine gift as a player to have a storyteller who just wants to take everything we're giving and seamlessly integrate it in that way. So it's just been so lovely. Star for Fiona for being our lovely behind the scenes producer and helping with scheduling and making sure we all stay hydrated and have breaks, and shakes her finger at me for giving her a star on the recording, not at the end, so she can't edit it out. Star for Matt for thank you for bringing this table together and for having it on your channel and for making this happen. Much love to Matt, and also just for Haskell being such a layered and nuanced and interesting character. Right until the very last moment, we were learning more about not just how he sees himself, but how the world sees him, and the way that you conveyed how the world sees him, and that changes how we see him. It was genuinely such an interesting and unique way to tell a story, and I loved it. Star for Wren, just for everything that comes out of your mouth. I don't know how to narrow it down, but I love Phoebe so much, and I'm so happy that she's found at least a little slice of happiness for who knows how long it will last. But I love that it felt so natural for her story to lead there, and it didn't feel trite. It felt like, yeah, this is earned, because she is somebody who has faced head on just everyone in the world just being the most insufferable, and has always been like, yeah, okay, fine, Sun Mask guy is here now too, and I guess I'm going to his creepy nether realm. Like, the way that you always just played Phoebe as being like, sure, fine. She deserved that reward of finding a bit of happiness with Sasha, so thank you for that. And star for Jess, like, for just being such a phenomenal role player, for just embodying Dr. Mortimer so fully to the last, never flinching at the increasingly horrifying descriptions of Etienne, and still steadfastly being like, he's my lovely son, whomst I love. He's your boy for some reason, and I hope it shows a testament to how much trust as performers we've built between each other, that I knew that if I brought you into Cecelie's epilogue, you would make it better than if I narrated it myself. So star for you for
that. Getting to go last is quite easy because most of the most important things have been said, but like, I'll echo every single one of them. And the ones I'll individually highlight are Wren. Anytime you do a mask, it's like someone did a comment on one of the videos on YouTube that was just like, they said something along the lines of that as soon as your mask had finished, they rewound it and watched it again immediately. And like, it's that level every time. All your epilogues, the epilogue, you took me by surprise, you two, with your Jewell epilogue. I really liked that very much. But yeah, like, after I played my home game and made a gushing video about how I felt about it on my channel, I went on Fiona's podcast and we talked about the Between. And there's a bit in there where I say something along the lines of, like, after playing the Between, I'm no longer interested in having someone sit behind a screen telling everyone else around the table what's happening and we do a little bit of like, you know, there's a bit of business. We feel like we're all doing it together, but we're actually not. And I said, what I enjoy now and what I want to do every time I sit down to play games with people is I want to stand on the edge of the cliff and I want us all to hold hands and I want us all to step off together. And I cannot think of a better 4 people to do that with than you guys. And like, thanks for the trust that you put in us. Now, Jess, I'm excluding you from this because we played Trophy Dart together and we were on a break. And I said, hey, I'm playing this game called The Between at the minute. You said, tell me what it is. I told you. And before I think I finished the first sentence, you were like, if you ever play that, I'm in. So like, I'll exclude you from this. But like Wren and Michelle, we don't really know each other. And you just trusted me to come on board and do this. Jason, you put your trust in 4 strangers you've never kind of played with before. And like, I hope that I feel like everything we've all given has been repaid back like a millionfold to each other. And I like just felt so good stepping off that cliff, knowing that I had each of your hands. I don't know how that works with just 2 hands, but you get the point. And yeah, I kind of just loved every second. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I specific stars and wishes from the session. I'll just second what everybody said. I agree completely. I particularly enjoy the various flashbacks and epilogues and things. That was all really great. I just want to speak like at a kind of a higher level about the whole campaign, just some general thoughts. I only ever experienced this hobby from the vantage point of the GM and sometimes also the game designer or publisher, right? I am almost never a player. That I can't remember the last time I was a player in a game. And so I have a really particular view of like what role-playing games are to me and like how I experience them and how I process them. And like this industry is my job. This is my full-time job. This is what I do. This is how I make my money. And writing games and running the gauntlet is you know, that's important. But I also like really view, I take the sort of like artistic and artistry qualities of our hobby like really seriously. So like I'm always looking at like the games I write and publish, I view them as art, like they are my art. And I put them out there. I intend for them to be like not just products, but like things that are art that you engage with, right? And GMing, I view GMing as a skill and an art, right? Like it's something you can get better at, and it's also something that you can invest with a lot of creativity to elicit certain things at the table, right? And I'll just say that like I, for whatever surprisingly enough, I don't often think about the player's role. I think about like, I'm going to give you all the tools to do player business, right? And I kind of view my thing as GM and game designer business, right? But playing with the 4 of you, I really do believe that the type of role playing that you do is like it's art. There's an art in what you do, and I think it's really magnificent. Like there is something, it's not just like performing, it's not just like acting or improv even, it's something different. Like it's something about like, I present a paint the scene question, you take the opportunity to tell me to answer it, to tell me what we see, but also to like infuse your own thoughts on like character and themes and what the scene means to you, and to do it in this really vivid and evocative way. And just in the way that you sort of narrate your flashbacks and kind of really go into that like storytelling mode. I think that of all the groups I've played this game with, especially, but even other games, this group really like, you've made me like consider like the act of being a player in a role-playing game like a thing that has artistry to it. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's sort of where my head is at right now. So there's something really special there, and you should all be really proud of it, right? Like this was not just like playing a game. At times it really felt like we were kind of doing something that was more transcendent than that, right? And so thank you. It's really wonderful, and I just I love it, and I love this hobby. I love what we all do. But I really do feel like after this, like I have like a much a much better understanding of like, or a reminder of like why I love this hobby and why I love to do this. And also I've really gained a lot of insight from watching you all play, to have even like a better understanding of like what my game does, right? Like there's something about like making a game, and my instincts tell me something should be this way or that way, right? And when I run the game, I can see, I've played this game many times. I've run this game many times, and I can see what it's doing, you know, and I know it's working. But with this campaign and watching you all of it play, I almost got like an even better understanding of what it was doing in a certain sense, right? Like, and so that's just really special to me as a game designer, to see my art interacted with in that way, to create some other art. It's just really magnificent, and it's just been such a pleasure and a privilege to play with you all, and I just really appreciate the invitation, and I really appreciate everybody showing up every week and getting into it. So and stars to Fiona as well for keeping us all on track, so as ever. But yeah, that's all I got. So this is great fun. I'm sad it's over for now, and but I will always have this to think back on and look at, and I'm just excited that it's out in the world. Yeah.
We'll always have Hargrave House.
Yes, indeed.
You know.
Even you have annoying neighbors now.
Jesus Christ.
What is that?
I can't say.
We're supposed to be transcendent, Jason. Tell us.
Wow. Okay. It's over, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed playing it. I'm recording this a week after that finale. I'm still not quite admitting to myself that it's all over, although quite intriguing, isn't it? The new arrival on that square in Belgravia next to Hargrave House. I wonder if that could bear fruit. Who knows? Anyway, thanks to Jason and the Gauntlet for allowing us in to play this new edition of The Between before release. It's been an absolute joy to do so, and kind of be the first table for him running it properly. Was really special. Thanks to our sponsor Delamort & Co. They do all the kind of cool gothic homewares you keep seeing on when the phases change. And thank you to all my patrons, without whom none of this would be possible. You guys keep the lights on and make sure that I can do self-indulgent things like this, and make sure that all the talented people that I bring on board are paid for their time. So huge thank you. I will be back next time with something. Who knows? I think it's going to be the post-season talk back, which we've already recorded, which was a lot of fun to kind of see how we really felt about each other. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, then fair play to you, because that's a lot of spooky business you've made your way through, and I'm eternally grateful anyway. Until next time, farewell and safe passage.